Good evening. We start here on the biggest story of the day. The South African economy shrinking by 0.2% quarter-on-quarter in the third quarter of 2023. This decline follows two consecutive quarters of economic expansion. The drop in the third quarter was mainly attributed to persistent rotational load shedding, logistical constraints, as well as the challenging global environment. 5 of the 10 economic activities experienced declines, with agriculture, manufacturing and construction making the most significant contributions to the overall weak performance. On the expenditure side, fixed investment contracted also by 3.4%, and household consumption decreased by 0.3%, while government spending slightly rose by 0.3%. We're joined now by the president of the South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and that is Advocate Mtho Xulu. Abasha, thank you very much for your time this evening. What is your initial reaction to the data that was released? A lot of experts have reacted with not a lot of shock when it comes to these numbers.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you very much for having us, Folani. Look, we are naturally disappointed that the numbers confirm that the economy has contracted. I think it was generally expected because obviously as business people we have to live through it. But I think what's the most telling of these numbers is the fact that it shows that the South African economy is actually a non-productive economy, because the biggest drops are in the areas where it's supposed to be stimulating economic activity and creating different opportunities for economic integration and growth. So what we're reading from these numbers is that it's another stark reminder of the fact that this economy is not a productive economy. We have mining declining, we have agriculture declining, we have manufacturing declining. Even though it only measures 3 months, it's actually telling. And I think it has to remind us once again that if we were to grow this economy, we have to be productive, and these sectors can't be going backwards.
How soon, Advocate Xulu, would you say South Africa is close to touching that recessionary period? Because the fourth quarter, which we are on now, has experienced a lot of load shedding.
Well, look, our forecast now, if you look at just the marginal decline or the marginal growth, depending on which of the sectors you're looking at, this quarter may actually be another contraction, which then has 2 quarters in succession, obviously declining or contracting, which becomes a technical recession. So this quarter is going to be very difficult, because if you see in this report, it also speaks about the fact that the third quarter at least had some decent or less numbers of load shedding at 5 and stages 6. But this quarter already, I think we are foreseeing that it's going to be a problem. So the forecast that we'll have a stable fourth quarter in December is unlikely, because Eskom obviously over the past few weeks we have realized that they are struggling to really maintain what they promised, to keep the stages as low as stage 2 consistently. So I think this quarter will also see a problem, and we'll probably will see any form of growth only in the region of accommodation and tourism numbers. But there's no manufacturing of decent numbers will come through this month. There's no mining that will come through this month, because commodity prices are low, but also there's problems of power and logistics. So, and obviously, when those primary sectors are not producing, it has a knock-on effect on the services economy. So we do forecast that this quarter 4 will also be a contracting one, which is a technical recession.
How are your members going to receive or react, or how is your sector, the business sector, going to be impacted should there be a confirmed recession at the beginning of next year?
Look, when you have, initially it's a technical recession, but what it does, it actually dampens the mood of the economy, because there are some indicators that the business people look at. The confidence is driven by the fact that the economy is growing, therefore you produce more with expectation to sell more. You also are able to sell your story better, even to the global community, to say, I'm located in an economy that works. But obviously it's difficult to sell yourself as a South African company to the international market if you are stuck in an economy that is going backwards. So nobody invests in an economy that is shrinking, because what we have in South Africa now is that we're just really moving around and we are not growing. So a confirmed recession it dampens the mood, and obviously it slows down any level of further investment in businesses, and we start eating into our inventories. We start slowing down on investment. There's no new jobs, because obviously you don't employ in an economy that is shrinking. So it has a critical impact, negative one, psychologically, and in terms of decision making. So we have to avoid recessions, but we also have to be consistent in growing this economy, because we can't also have the inconsistencies of quarters contracting and growing, especially when it's within our control.
Advocate Xulu, of all of the structural risks that have been identified, including the power cuts, the logistical issues that we are having in terms of the ports, which one would you say should be at the top of the agenda, particularly from the business side and the government side?
Look, we have the twin problems of power and logistics. You would see the devastating impact that the ports are showing us now. So if we don't arrest the situation with Transnet, and it's not going to affect even on road freight, and consumers not being able to have their goods on time when they want to import, business people not being able to import their inputs or export their goods, Transnet is becoming almost as critical as when load shedding became a problem in this economy. And obviously we want to make sure that there's also consistency in dealing with the energy crisis. There was a glimmer of hope with the ministry, but obviously what we've seen recently, you can see that a lot of things still remain out of his control. So I think we still have to focus on dependable energy, seamless logistics, and obviously the overarching problem of making sure that we always control crime and the impact that it has on businesses. So those three priorities remain the priority of business: logistics, energy, and crime. And obviously once you have a safer economy, you hope that we'll start investing in some of these productive sectors that we need to grow this economy.
Before I let you go, Advocate Xulu, when you look at this data, are there any green shoots that give you any sort of confidence that we might win our way out of the rut economically that we are in?
Look, our members at the South African Chamber of Commerce are neutral about the prospects of the economy over the next 12 months. I think everybody now is trying to protect what they have. There's no big talks of huge growth around innovation, around expansion, because we are seeing that there is a very slow pace in implementing any decisions that have been made about how this economy needs to perform. And ultimately, you have an election next year that is naturally disruptive in our country. So over the next 12 months, I think we just want to remain steady. We have to work together to at least protect what we have now. And we can't really talk of any significant growth over the next 12 months until we get going on a faster pace of implementation on decisions that we make, and consistency and accountability on those who are responsible.
Advocate Mtho Xulu is the president of the South African Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you very much, sir, for your time this evening.